What, so let's put it in your age cohort. You're the age that I was when I was an analyst at CIA. And I was considered an old man then, at least among my contemporaries. What is your sense among the people, let's say, who are 40 years and younger with respect to the special military operation? Are they supportive? Are they impatient? Are they insistent that more be done? Because they're the ones who are primarily affected in doing the fighting and suffering the casualties.
I think that people in Russia, young people, youth, in reality they support. There are some that are against, definitely. There are some that quietly sitting and not supporting. They don't highlight it. They don't support some loud. We know that they left, that not many of them. They're marginal. They call them the politicians and doesn't look so serious. And there are those that support with all their strength. The ones that don't support, they sit and they be quiet and they're afraid and they're waiting till it all will finish up. And I don't judge them. Okay, we have freedom.
Right.
If you don't hurt, if you don't threat, if you don't work, and you're just sitting and waiting until everything will finish up to do what you want to do, your life, okay,
yeah,
no problem there. You see, nobody pressures anybody. But the ones who support, they support fully. They engage. People, not rich people, would collect the money, collect the machinery, send the equipment, instruments, send it to the front line. Old women, they collect all the cards and they support. This is what we need to focus on. When we talk about young people, we need to understand that not all of them support, but the ones that do support, they support actively. They support business. It's either left or survive overseas using Russophobia as a method to exist because it sells, or just stay and do whatever they do quietly, not influencing anything. I don't know how much is that in a percent, supporting, not supporting. But the ones that do support, that's the majority, active majority.
What about the rest of society or society as a whole in Russia? Is there growing impatience or hello? Hello?
Yes, he can hear me.
Okay, good.
Okay. You mean unrest in the Russian society?
Yeah.
I don't see unrest. I don't see panics. You are yourself in Russia.
Yeah.
Yes. You're in Moscow, and Moscow is not Russia. Moscow is the capital, and you have to travel the regions. We go with a club among the regions and the cities, and we talk to people in panics, protests, pressure. No, there's none. Are they tired? Yes, they're tired.
Yeah.
But who would like to have war? Anybody who loves war?
No.
You don't have the people that like the, operation on the stomach.
Not even General Apti. I was with General Apti last night. And he was as sincere as he could be. That, he said, I'm tired of the killing. And he wants peace, but not at the expense of Russia's sovereignty and security.
I'll get back to that analogy today that I started. We understand that when we get sick and are strong, and we need a special operation, special intervention, it bothers us. An operation and the preparation for that operation, and people get tired. If there's a worry, yes, we have it. But that is with a hope that this necessary operation, surgery will take place. You'll continue to live, and you will have long years to live. They're not people that are rejoice when the doctor says that they go to the surgery, but there are no healthy people that are good-minded, that would be running away from the doctors. That's necessary to survive. So I think majority of people that stay and support the special operation by money, with money, effort, humanitarian help, it's a necessity. We have to live through it, we have to win and continue going.
What about from an economic standpoint in society? What do you observe there? Because on your radio show, do people call in? Do you have interaction with the listeners? Do they ever, complain about the economy or say, hey, things are great?
On one side, the discomfort that has placed due to sanctions, they are, yes, it concerns, there's a concern, yes, the prices went up. Something when, access is not there, but there's a small amount of Russians who put import BMW car above sovereignty of the country. If we speak about every day, just a regular situation, refrigerator, parks, malls, shops, everything is there. And I haven't spoken about that, but I will tell you, when everything has started, I thought that it would be worse in the very beginning. When brands started leaving Russia or trademarks closing down and imported sovereign companies, and same thing with Islamic Iran, it would be difficult. And I was ready for that, and I was thinking that most Russians were ready for that. I was thinking that we had to really tighten the belt and have patience, but everything a lot more positive. Yes, it was difficult somewhere here and there, but as totality, we don't see that. The deficit, no lines. Great increase in poverty. We will go over all the difficulties that we face. They're not fundamental. We are a very rich state, very rich. If you take a look at the Russia 2022, 23, 25 with Iran of 79, 80, 81, and etc., Russia is in a far much better position. Wealthier, we do have some fat on, and in this state, as today, we can live for a long time. And my analysis is based on talking to the experts, not with simple people, the ones that are serving economic sector, financial experts, and they understand what they're talking about.
You're too young to understand the irony of this, and that it's not your fault. You were born when you were born. But in the old days, prior to 1990, Pravda was seen as the ultimate oxymoron, or the joke, because the information in Russia, or then Soviet Union, was so controlled that Pravda was anything but Pravda. And there existed this underground media, samizdat, where people would print and share articles. Well, now I've lived long enough that here you are, a journalist, working for Pravda, where there actually is much more Pravda in Russia than in the West, where it is the West that's cracking down. It's the West that's controlling who gets to speak. It's the West who's controlling what gets published. And that's why I say, I enjoy the irony, because I can remember what it was and seeing what it is now in Russia, where, journalists like yourself, you don't strike me as oppressed, that someone's trying to control you, what you say, and you seem quite able to speak your mind and to criticize the government if necessary.
Yes. I know what you talk about, though I was grown in during perestroika time, I didn't touch the USSR and early USSR with Glavlit and the censorship and Samizdat and others, what you spoke about. I have a close person that it was possible left.
Yeah.
I left to Germany, lived the whole life there, reached great heights there. Today he came back from Germany. He left Germany. He lives in Moscow. I talked to him. He said, I was leaving from a certain things I didn't like in Soviet Union. When it was possible, I left. I didn't agree with a lot of things. Now I understand that what I left now came to Germany, and I come back from those things.
Yeah.
I don't leave Germany. I have not left Russia. I left from those things that I did not agree with. I don't agree with what takes place in Germany. I understand what they talk about, and I am not against control. In a normal size, amount, and in a form that is present in Russia. But why those that criticize Russia they say that Russia doesn't have a freedom of speech? Look at Israel. They don't have any freedom of speech.
Right.
There are foreposts of America on the Far East. That's military censorship officially as fully working. Today, when it's war, that Benjamin Netanyahu is wrong. You can't say that.
Yeah.
Or you can, but you will have circumstances. And in Russian Federation, there is a control. When the enemy is dreaming about how to hurt, how to damage, the doubt, the control, it must be there. But it's a healthy control. It's a control, that honest control, where everybody understands that today you have to limit yourself in some things, not to lose. Not to get a slap on the face. Same thing in Iran, when I have asked those questions to one of the priests. How come you don't want to allow people to take hijab off officially? You know, the young people, they're protesting. They don't like it. It's a point of pressure. And the enemy is pressing that point. Just take off hijab and take the card. In a Qum city, one of the priests, Abbas, I agree with you, that in different Muslim countries, hijab is not everywhere is a must.
Right.
But hijab is it's a pinpoint, it's a symbol. When during Iran-Iraqi war, our soldiers were dying, they found notes in their hands. And it was written, we're dying that our sister and our mothers and our daughters would be able to have a right to wear hijab. It's a symbol of our victory, of our religion and culture. And if today we take away that hijab, one element, we will give an enemy an opportunity to get into the small hole that is created after hijab is taken off. And the enemy will fill it up by getting into that small hole. So you have to have a control, but in a healthy state and proportions, and without being crazy. And Russia doesn't have that, of course. It's normal, free state that so happened that is a fighting, and you have to filter the information.
What about, I've noticed in your charitable work that you're involved with rehabilitation for military veterans wounded during the special operation in Ukraine. And it goes under the title National SVOIM. What does that stand for? Svaim?
It's translated into English like to your own.
Oh, okay.
We do help people. We help people that helped us. They fought for us, and they lost their health, which is the most valuable thing. And it was such a damage that without extra help, the state helps. But the extra help would go for long, many years.
Okay.
And we want them to get well and continue to live a full life on.
Are finances a problem with respect to that?
We try. Finances are the problem. We exist for donations. We provide medicine, treatment, care, good care due to the people money that is coming as a fund. You know, it's not unlimited. People get tired, and a lot of people are in need, and also a lot of those that want to help, and they organize these collections. Private character, and at the level of the funds, there are different funds, big funds with federal support, less support, like us, somewhere in the middle. But we try, and we'll reach our level.
Is it that the government is not doing what it can to support these people, or is it that the government's not set up and equipped to support these people, or?
No, I think that state does the maximum, but it's too many.
Yeah.
Unlike the rest of them. Every case is individual and different.
Yeah.
It's difficult to approach that way. State is the state because it's a state machine, and it helps. It gives equally to each. There's certain standards, and in our case, Mr. Filayev, that we helped, he received a heavy wounding, eyes, hands, legs.
Yeah.
You can take a look at his story. The help that the state provides is enough, but if we help, it will all move faster and more quality than it could have happened before. It just would be a standard.
Well, yeah, and it's not just something limited to Russia. I sit on the board in the United States of something called Combat Soldiers Recovery, and it was set up by my bookkeeper, of all things. She lived next door to a surgeon at Walter Reed Army or Medical Hospital, who's now based in Bethesda, Maryland. And when soldiers would come back, severely wounded, having lost an arm or both legs, all appendages, or suffering traumatic brain injury, once they got through the initial treatment and were then put into, let's call it temporary housing, the government didn't pick up their expenses. I was like, what? And so my bookkeeper set up a program where she would raise a small amount of money. They were just giving people $300 a month. But in some cases, it was enough. They could buy cleaning supplies. They could fly a loved one in. But, war, unfortunately, creates, these wounded soldiers, these wounded veterans. And my view is if you're going to send them to war, then by God, you better take care of them if they get shot up. And so I applaud you for your work and doing that. It makes a difference in people's lives.
Yes, and the state is a state. State has a lot more to take care of. Russia is a social state, as you know. We don't have the problem like we have you guys have in U.S., as I know, medical things, the insurance, Obamacare, and all that. That's a huge, huge, huge problem in the United States. Russia is a social state. We have free medicine here,
Right.
at a very good level. But when the society shows care for the ones that protected them, for that lost that wore their hands, legs, and hearing, when the society can do a restoration a little bit faster, more quality, it buys the medicine that covers the state. It's good. That's what we do.
Abbas, is there anything else I should ask you? Have I forgotten to ask anything that you want to talk about?
You want to ask me a question? I don't know. I'm ready to answer all of your questions. Maybe concerning Syria, if you're curious. I'm half Syrian.
Well, yeah, we'll close out on that. When Bashar al-Assad was overthrown by In fact, had another guest on earlier. He's been indicted by the FBI with a $10 million reward on his head, just like al-Jilani. The difference is they're accusing this gentleman of having interfered in the U.S. election, where here's al-Jilani, who's been responsible for the murders of civilians, Alawite, Shia, Christian. And when this West-engineered coup that brought Jilani to power and put these radical Islamists in charge, it was presented as a big defeat for Iran and a big defeat for Russia. So here we are now, about a year later. Was it a big defeat for Russia and Iran?
Let's call things they are. What happened in Syria, that's not good. That's not what we were headed to. That's not what we lived in 2015, came to Syria for. Answering the cry for help from the Syrian people. Many years we were fighting with that gentleman that you speak about. We fought with him for many years. And today, we take him in Kremlin for the reason that there is no other power. And Syria is still there. Syrian people are still there. And I always say about that, we came to him to help not Assad, not personally Assad, but we came to help nation that elected Assad. And difference from Assad was elected, and who elected Jilani, voted for him. He does not represent Syrian people. Al-Sharab, he came, he said, I am the president of the transition power. Then there was a fictive nation meeting where they elected 70 to 30, 30% were appointed by him, and 70% through colleagues, through the voters. That also was Jilani's body formulated. So the national meeting is from the Ashara people. It's a total occupation. He is a self-called, but there's no other power in Syria. And whether we like it or we don't like it, this is, we have given to the promise to the Syrian people. Everything flows, everything changes, like Geracles says. There's a war with Ukraine, special military operation, and Russia had to put the priorities. However we're hurt, at whatever degree we're hurt. Kursk region for us is a lot more important than what happens outside of Russia, even in Syria. Though Syria is our ally and Assad is our friend, Kursk is much more important for us. What happened, happened. But as Vladimir Putin said with Al-Shara, he said that highlight, he says, Syria has a lot of ties with us, with the Syrian people. Al-Shara, today he is, tomorrow he is not. Maybe tomorrow he'll leave, we have another one new. And then another one. Syria exists for many years, and it was occupied, it was burned. You know the story. The history of Syria is very rich for these tragical events. But Syrian people, they're here now and they're suffering. Food safety, the balance of strength. Israel is bombing. America occupied part of Syria. Everybody wants to tear apart Syria. And however, it wouldn't sound even that they have the enemy of Russia there but Syria is needed for Syrians. Al-Shara came and we took our enemy, but we can say differently. We have fought with them, we won with them at a certain period, but then they had the revolt. And now they're coming to Kremlin to say, help me, please, because he cannot handle it on its own, because Turkey will not help. Israel will occupy. Israel already said that they will not leave from the south of Syria, and they will be there with a Hermon Mount. And at that point, everything is quite clear. Real politics.
One more example of the United States meddling in the internal affairs of another country without any regard for the consequences. So, Abbas, listen, thanks for this conversation. We covered a lot of territory, and I think people, if they take time to watch and listen, they're going to glean something from it. This is brought to you courtesy of the International Unity Club and with TASS, a news agency that's also making sure that people are now in modern Russia properly informed. Thank you so much.